KLTV sound check, KLTV sound check.
Father's house here today, going to lead us in invocation.
Good morning, everyone. Let's pray. Father, in this week of Thanksgiving, we thank you first for your love, your grace, and mercy upon the citizens of Cowlitz County. And thank you too for each one. And we pray for their welfare, safety, and health that comes only from you, Father. For our commissioners, Rick Dahl, Steve Farrell, and Steve Rader, we thank you for each one of them, for their service and commitment to Cowlitz County, and we pray for your favor and blessings on each one of them and for their families. We pray as they consider, deliberate, and legislate, as well as oversee the issues of Cowlitz County, along with other leaders who serve Cowlitz County, that you'd grant them your wisdom, insights, and understanding to continue to lead effectively for the safety, health, welfare, and prosperity of Cowlitz County for now and for future generations. And we pray, God, that for each one of our commissioners, that they would be like a light shining on a hill, filled and anointed by your Spirit, and illuminated by the greatest light of all, our Savior, Creator, and God. Guide them and others who may share in this meeting today. We pray in Jesus' great name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Want to join me for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You'll notice the screen behind me is kind of dull. We have a machine going out. We have a new machine coming, but until now, you just have to read through the lines. Do the best you can. Okay. I'd entertain a motion for approval of minutes in November 3rd to 5th and November 10th.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes. Questions, comments, corrections? Okay, seeing none, call for vote. Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We'll run through consent agenda. I would ask, with the permission of my colleagues, if we could move item 17 on the reimbursement policy. I hear we have some comments that want to be made on that, and I'd like to move that off of consent over to motion.
Okay.
So it gets attention.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll read down through consent, realizing we're moving item 17 from consent to motion. Call for public hearings. 25 to 2030 homeless housing plan scheduled for December 16th, 2025. It'll be 9:30. It'll be here in this building. Call for bids for the rental equipment for public works maintenance and construction. In 2026, the call for bids is scheduled for December 15th, 2025 at 1:30. Agreements, contracts, bid awards. The 3, 4, and 5 all have to do with juvenile, and these are all pass-through funds that come from the state and run through juvenile for these programs. First one is a personal service agreement with the Cowlitz County Child Advocates. It's in the amount of $91,960. It's funded from the Administration Office of Courts, AOC. This is a program that's been going on for 9 years. These first 3, why we're seeing them here is because contract language and stuff has changed over the years, and our legal team wanted to do some updates on that. So it makes them come on our agenda, even though they're not funds that the county pays, it comes from the state. Number 4 is a personal service agreement with Creative Solution Counseling for functional family therapy. This is an amount of $17,750 that passes through us. And number 5 is a personal service agreement with Darnell and Associates for court-ordered outpatient sex offense treatment for juveniles. And this is an amount of $22,920 that passes through us. Number 4 has been a program that's been coming through us for 12 years. This number 5 has been come through us for the last 8 years. 6 through 13 are all from involved Public Works. Public Works, we have contracts. At the end of the year, you see a lot of activity. We try to update the contracts with the new expiration date if we still have work going on or we're still doing business with these people. So these are all updates for end times. Some of them have some added money to them because there's still work going on with them. But 6 through 13, that's what those are. First one is with Gibbs and Olson, and it involves the Woodbrook wastewater treatment plant. Number 7 is ecological land services for as needed reviews that we may need. Number 8 is engineering solutions LCC, and this involves landfill gas. It's our landfill. This one's basically involves, you heard us talk about doing vertical wells instead of horizontal wells. This one involves the vertical wells. Number 9 is environmental science associations for as needed. Number 10, professional service agreement with Gibbs and Olson. And this one involves the Tootle wastewater treatment plant. Number 11 is PBS engineering and environmental. 12 is RH2 engineering. This involves the Riderwood supplement water program or water project. And number 13 is XL Tech. Bauman Company is a Rose Valley Road. It's a culvert replacement project. So once again, 6 through 13 are all public works. 14, amendment number 6 to interlocal agreement with the Lower Columbia Fish Recovery Board to extend the agreement through December 31st, 2030. Commissioner Rader sits on that board. I think it's worthwhile that we be involved with that. So we're extending that agreement. 15, software license renewal for dual security for multi-factor authentic. You know what I said. They kind of monitor and make sure identity is correct. It's an annual contract. I think I didn't hear him say there was any increase in prices, same price as last year. It's an annual contract we look at for $56,039. Yeah, same amount as last year. Number 16, resolution 091322 of the Cowlitz County Fire District Number 1, annexing and incorporating the land into the Fire Protection District. Number 17 has been moved to motion item. 18, resolution authorizing Susan Eugenus, county engineer, or the alternate, Christopher Andrews, to sign and submit the United States Department of Agriculture grant application to receive federal financial assistance. And this is in regards to the Riderwood supplemental, the project we're doing out in Riderwood. Board correspondence, 1, 2, 3. The top 3 are all from FERC in letters to for a drilling program for embankment stability analysis. Another one on the dams Merwin, Yell, and Swift. And then recommendations on Swift. These are all letters to Pacific Power. Letter dated 11/25/25, declare paying, reappointing her to the Mosquito Control District. 2-year term expires end of February 2028. Letter dated 11/20/25 to Andrew Boyko, reappointing to the Mosquito Control District. Two-year term expires February 28, 2028. And then a executed signed agreement with Verona Systems to purchase hardware and software licenses to move SaaS for application service to the cloud. The total cost is $99,240. That's in our IT area. Lots of vouchers piled up this week. Vouchers in the amount of $11,517,029.50. That's a lot to swallow. Any questions or comments on consent? Okay. Seeing none, I entertain a motion.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the amended consent agenda. Last time, not seeing anything. We'll call for a vote. Those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion items. Susan, why don't we take yours and then we'll tackle the reimbursement policy.
Good morning, Susan Eugenius, County Engineer. We have 3 items on the motion agenda today. The first is a supplemental agreement to our local agency agreement with our on-call geotechnical engineer. I brought this one forward because we're extending it to December of 2027 and essentially doubling the contract from $300,000 to $600,000. We had an existing 2-year contract for the $300,000, and we have spent $299,175,000. Those items that we have spent the money on, let me pull the right contract here. So the geotech, generally, he responds to emergencies. So when we have emergency slides, so we had 2 of those over this time period, and both from last year. He'll come out and he'll do geotechnical evaluations for foundations for our bridges and culverts. This includes drilling and analyzing the material pulled out and giving design recommendations. So we had several of those. He did a study for one of our slides on Kalama River Road. We have been pleased with his work, and we were wanting to extend it for another year for equivalent dollar amount for another 2 years.
Any questions? Of course, we're hoping we don't have slide activity and save us some money. But
That would be nice.
yeah. Go ahead,
Good
Rob.
morning, Commissioners. Following up on a comment you just made, Chairman, you have geotech people for emergency response, but all of your people driving the roads and things like that also know of the areas that are susceptible to slide. Prevention of the slide is a heck of a lot cheaper than waiting for the slide to occur and taking trees and shutting traffic and everything down. Those of us that drive roads know where slippage is occurring into the ditches or along the way. Is there any preventativeness in this program?
So
Or alerts, as I might say.
So this gentleman does not come out and drive the roads. Our road supervisors do that. And when they see what we refer to as danger trees, they arrange to get them taken down when possible. If they're not within the right of way and the property owner does not agree, we cannot take that tree down. But we try to proactively take trees down, make sure our ditches are clean. They do know the areas that tend to slide. On the 6-year plan, there is a project that's called landslide improvements, and it's the bottom line on there, and it has a list of ones that we know are prone to slide. As I said, we did one of the Kalama River roads, trying to determine, we have multiple sections on Kalama River Road that we keep on as gravel because they tend to move. So we over the past year and a half, had borings out there to monitor it, to get recommendations on what improvements we could make, if any, to prevent that continued motion. So he's completed that project, and our proposal within the next 2 years is to do one of our other frequently sliding areas to see if there's a cost-effective way to prevent future slides and maintenance, because we have continued maintenance on those areas. So we are trying to get a more proactive moving, in addition to when we see issues that we potentially think. We have rock scaled on Kalama River Road in the past 4 years, where we had an area where you could see some of the big rocks were going to come down on the road. When we see them, we try to take care of them, but a lot of times it's just a surprise. But we have other areas that we keep an eye on.
So my question really leads to, is it, number one, in prone areas, being proactive and having boulders or gabions or something that allows drainage and yet helps stabilize the bank is certainly an opportunity to prevent. And so in your agreement and contract, I think the wording said for emergency. Do you also have the agreements to be able to call a geologist in to look at or monitor these situation potentials?
Yes, this is an as-needed contract, so we can set up a task with them to go out to an area and give us recommendations, as like on Kalama River Road, Lane Road, Headquarters Road. I can keep rattling off a bunch of them that we know are problems. So yes, we do set up task orders with them to study an area in addition to their emergency response.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Didn't we last year in the road name escapes me, but just past Lexington, the road that heads off to the left, we did embankment there.
Yes, Hazeldale.
Hazeldale, yeah.
Yes, we did a retaining wall on Hazeldale Road last year.
Any other questions on this one? Okay. Call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Did I get a motion? I didn't get a motion.
Remember getting a motion.
I'll take a motion first.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Sorry about that. Get ahead of myself. Still see no hands. We'll take a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Susan?
So our next item is a supplemental agreement number 2 with OTAC Incorporated for the Allender Road Bridge Replacement Project. This project, we just had the bid openings 2 weeks ago, and next week the construction contract will be on the agenda for award. This supplement will supplement the engineer's contract by $100,000 to provide construction phase engineering services, and extends the term to December of 2027. These services will include review of bridge submittals, so the structural steel, the girders. It'll include some site inspections, resolution of any issues that are out there, and then the final load rating of the bridge once construction is complete.
I had one thought that popped up on me on this yesterday, because I know we also have a culvert issue out there, right?
Yes,
But this is just specifically for the bridge?
yes, this is,
No crossover here?
yeah, no, there's no crossover.
Okay.
This is the bridge. The culvert issue is a separate project.
Any questions on that? Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
I move approval of supplement number 2 with a local agency standard consultant agreement with OTAC.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. One last call, questions? See none, call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Susan?
Okay, the next item is the local agency agreement and federal aid project perspective for the Coal Creek Road Improvements Project. This is the agreement to accept federal funds to improve the roadway section from milepost 1.44 to 2.0. This obligates the PE and so preliminary engineering and right-of-way phases of the project. The total estimate for design and construction is $3.6 million, and we're looking to obligate the PE and right-of-way at an amount of approximately just under $500,000. This will improve the roadway by removing substandard curves and adding shoulders. This project starts just beyond where the shoulder ends on Coal Creek as you're heading north from Ocean Beach Highway. We're hoping to progress this along the roadway in phases that are measurable chunks that we can pay for.
Questions?
So it goes to milepost 2, which unfortunately I forgot to write down approximately what the cross street was on there. I meant to do that. I apologize. So it's another half mile, just it's 0.6 of a mile beyond where it ends. And it's right before, and I can't remember the name of the creek. There's a big culvert out there. So we use that as our break point. So we're improving the road up to the culvert because the culvert is a fish passage and it will cost us a lot of money. So we're improving the roadway section to that next culvert. And then and looking at a way to fund that culvert moving forward.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
Move approval of item 23, local agency federal aid project prospectus and local agency agreement for the Coal Creek Phase 1 project.
Okay. We have a motion to approve. One last call for questions, comments. Not seeing any online. Okay, call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you. I hope you all have a good holiday.
Okay, we'll we moved item 17 over. I know a little bit about this, but this is we have a resolution to rescind our current travel policy and establish a new allowable expenses reimbursement policy. I know the old one was pretty old, and I believe our office and the auditors have been working on updating this policy for some time. Haley's online, or Kaylee? Why don't you, Kaylee, do you mind chiming in and just tell us kind of the work that went into this?
Yeah, so we pulled quite a few travel policies from multiple counties and cities, and also worked with SAO guidance and MRSC and what they've put out and recommendations, and also some issues that the county has had in the past. And we collectively worked together to come up with what you have in front of you today. It's gone through multiple levels of review. It's been back and forth quite a few times. But we were ready for an overhaul. We had quite a few missing pieces in our travel policy that's currently in place. But yeah, this just gives more details. It helps us better audit everything that comes through our office to make sure we are following procedures, and also that departments have better instruction on what is allowable and what isn't.
Okay. No, we had some question on this.
It's also been through legal review, so Doug's looked at it.
Emily Wilcox, Cowlitz County Assessor. I think this is a much needed overhaul of the travel policy. I give you kudos for going through it. It was in need of an update. My only concern on the policy that I wanted to bring to your attention before it gets passed is that I am concerned with what is defined as the work area. I think it's very vague, and it gives the wording. Okay, so the policy defines a work area as a place where an employee performs their duties on a recurring basis. Because of that wording, a work area could easily become an employee's home, even if they only work part-time from that location. When this definition is combined with the 60-mile reimbursement rule, it creates an unintended situation. A remote or part-time telework employee who lives more than 60 miles from the county campus could qualify for mileage, lodging, and travel reimbursement every time they're required to come to the campus. This would turn what is normally a personal commute into a reimbursable travel expense based only on where the employee chooses to live. This is a major policy change that would be both financially and fairness have impacts across departments. I also want to point out that the State Office of Financial Management, which sets statewide travel rules, is very clear that the state does not require paying mileage or travel time for regularly scheduled or pre-planned trips to a duty station. In other words, the state does not treat a remote employee's drive to the office as reimbursable travel. If the county wants to support remote or hybrid work, then similar to state agencies, employees should have formal telework agreements in place. Those agreements normally define an employee's duty station, and they often are required to report in person and what counts as their normal commute. They also spell out any exceptions, and those exceptions are clearly defined within each employee's agreement rather than being automatically triggered by a distance alone. Given all of this, I would respectfully ask the board to table this item and allow staff to workshop the wording, especially around the definition of work area and the treatment of remote work. This will help us ensure that the policy matches Cowlitz County's intent and avoids unintentional financial obligations.
I guess I believe what the intent was to have the department head or elected official to have to approve this in there. You don't think that your ability to be able to approve stuff for your department is enough protection?
I think that leaving it vague creates unintentional situations. And for example, as an elected official, I am required to live in Cowlitz County. A director is not. I think that there is room there where you can have directors living in other places, or even me as an example. Let's say I want to work remotely from my property in Oregon 2 days a week. That becomes a recurring workstation, and then the county could be obligated to pay me to come back and forth from that workstation. I just feel that the vagueness of how it's written opens us up for some problems, and I want to try to avoid that.
Well, we currently have employees that are driving more than the 60 miles to come to work. We have employees in Olympia and from up north that are already doing this, and we're not reimbursing them for their travel expenses.
If they were to work from home reoccurringly, they could then we could be required to reimburse them. I just really want to make sure that we're not putting ourselves in a position that causes problems later. After COVID, several of us had a really hard time getting employees to come back to the office once they had been remote working. And this would have made that even more difficult, I think.
Didn't we work with the state's Office of Financial Management to come up with these terms? I think we did.
And multiple other.
Yeah.
So I think there was a lot in there. Again, I will apologize. This was not on my radar until I started reading your 754 pages of supporting documents for today's meeting, and I caught it. So I didn't read this for the first time until yesterday afternoon. I did some quick research trying to find any state agency that has that definition or a very similar one, and they are much more complicated and complex. And so that's my only request, is that we be more in line with what the state is doing here instead of it being vague and then only being triggered by a 60-mile radius.
So just to touch on that, so what you're reading is actually the definition of what a workplace is. we actually specify in the policy that travel between an employee's usual place of residence and their usual place of work is normal commuting purposes and is not eligible for mileage reimbursement.
Which section is that?
That is in
And as Commissioner Farrell pointed out, from legal, no changes or corrections. This product is discretionary policymaking within the sideboards of BOCC authority. So I
on
know.
page 9. Sorry. Section F, example 2. Travel between an employee's usual place of residence and their usual place of work for normal commuting purposes is not eligible for mileage reimbursement.
I think that without diving into it too far, you're saying the place of residence and their normal place of work at that point is their remote location. I'm more concerned about them reporting to the county location.
Say that again, you're more concerned with,
So let's say we have a director living in Colorado and 1 week a month, they're coming to the county campus to work. I'm concerned that we are then going to have to reimburse them every single time they come to the county, pay for their airfare, their lodging, their per diem, their rental car, when that is then, that's their choice that they're living there. I don't think the county should be encumbered by that expense when it's their choice, unless that is part of a contract with that specific employee. I just don't think it should be in the general travel policy.
and again, that comes back to that, in that case, for a director, this board would have to approve that. It wouldn't be just arbitrary. They can decide to do that,
But that would
even as
be
a director.
a one-off agreement between the board and that director versus it being travel policy for all employees. That's my concern.
Sometimes it feels like a little bit of catch-22. I get what you're saying, but if we don't have that in the policy that we can make those reimbursements, then we ask this person, we tell them, you need to be here, but, oh, we can't pay you because it's not in here. See, it kind of gets into a catch-22. If it's not in the policy, then how do we tell them, we've actually run into that.
There's verbiage, and I think it was the Department of Transportation's travel policy that spells that out. And again, I think it's just a matter of taking the time to actually spell out those things versus a blanket statement that is very generalized.
Aren't there, I read through this and there are sections that say that reimbursement and expenses are up to the discretion of the elected official and or the department head as to whether or not it's a reimbursable expense if it's a one-off. So is this one of those things that falls under that category? Or it's up to the discretion of the elected or the department head? That's how I understood it, was that it was up to the discretion of the department head and or the elected in the office.
You know, it has to, it kind of got a ladder there of somebody has to approve it somewhere.
Yeah.
It's not just an arbitrary, I decided I'm going to move to Colorado and work from Colorado.
And just to be clear, the person that brought this to my attention for today's meeting was the auditor, Carolyn, who had concerns. So I'm a little confused by the fact that their office is on supporting when that's who brought it to my attention. So
That surprises me too, because it was,
I'm a little confused.
Carolyn
but
spent a
that's
lot of
okay.
time on this.
Right. And again, I think that there's a lot of really useful, good changes in here. I just want to make sure that we're passing policy that is the best policy we can pass.
Well, I've worked with policy for a lot of years and I don't know that you ever find the perfect one. What I do know is this one is head and shoulders above what we currently have. If we need to do some tweaks, I'm willing to do that, but I would suggest we update because there's a lot good in this thing. If we have something we need to work out, we can work that out and make amendments to it, but the current one is pretty much trash.
What is the amendment process if we have to make a change to it? Do we just vote on it? Oh,
It would just be a matter of bringing it forth with a resolution to, like we're doing right now.
Yeah. Any other? So I'm not trying to cut you off. I'm just seeing it. Well,
I'm comfortable with it.
yeah, if we can make changes as needed, I'm comfortable with it.
and I'd entertain a motion.
I move approval of the allowable expenses and reimbursement policy.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. You seen any hands or anything? I'm not seeing anything. Okay, we'll call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We're late for a public hearing. Is Kathy on? Kathy,
Good morning.
sorry, we're a little bit late.
That's okay. Good morning, Kathy Funk Baxter, Finance Director. Today we have a request for resolution to certify the general fund levy for 2026. And that levy includes a 0% increase in the amount over last year, but it does include new construction and also a refund levy, administrative refund levy. So for general fund, the amount to certify, we're requesting to be certified is $21,274,766, which does include the refund levy of $79,020.
Okay,
That's the first resolution.
you need separate resolutions on all these?
I need a separate, we'll do a resolution for the road separate and the general fund separate. Just two.
Okay,
You want me to
let's
explain the road
the
fund
others, then I
next?
can open it up to public meeting.
Public.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So the next is our road levy. And we, on this levy, we are also doing a 0% increase over last year, $0 amount. But the road levy includes new construction as well as a refund, administrative refund amount. And for a total of $14,692,870, which includes a refund amount of $51,028.
Okay. Any questions up here? I think we kind of understand this. Let me open it up for the public hearing in case anybody in the audience wants to comment on this. Basically, we never increased taxes on this. We're collecting the same amount as we did last year, with the exception of any new construction. We're bringing that into the fold. Okay, does that kind of make sense?
Correct.
Okay. You see anybody online? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. And so you need two different motions from us, one for the general fund and one for the road fund.
Yes,
Okay, so,
there's two resolutions.
okay, so I'd entertain a motion for the general fund.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the certification on the general fund. We've already asked for questions, so we'll just go to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'd entertain a motion on the road fund.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the road fund as presented. Go straight to the question. Those in favor? Aye. Do you need anything on mental health service and veterans relief?
No, your general fund, the levy,
That covers
include,
all three of those.
it
Okay,
covers all three, yes.
okay. Okay. Enjoy Thanksgiving there in Texas.
Okay, y'all too, have a great holiday and
Okay,
see you
thank
back
you.
next Monday.
All right. Bye.
Be safe.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay. Before I open up the general comments, I want to update you on a little bit because we've been talking about it for a few weeks. Commissioner Farrell and I were in Spokane last week at the county's like annual get together, and I sit on the Timber Caucus, which is counties that have timber in their county and depend on that for revenue and stuff. And we had a Timber Caucus meeting over there because we had told you that the Forest Practices Board voted 7-5 to implement the extended buffer standards around creeks, which takes a lot of timber out of production in our county. Plus the governor has set aside an additional 77,000 acres taken out of timber production, which also impacts our county. We have a representative that sits on that board. She abstained. And so I asked a couple questions on that because I tried to be respectful, but I didn't understand why we would not support our timber people and why she would abstain. And her answer, she answered it actually before we even, she said, well, this has been going on for 25 years. I didn't want to get into the middle of it. And I'm going, what?
The hell are they on?
Yeah, exactly. So I thought I was respectful. Some said they thought I was, one guy said, I heard you were standing on the table. I go, no, I've been worse. I did ask a pretty pointing question and I asked how you get these people appointed and what's the vetting process? If we're going to put them on these boards, we must have a vetting process that we know that who we're recommending is going to back up. We're a timber caucus. We're a timber industry. We're going to back that up. And I didn't think I got any kind of answer. Did you hear an answer? I didn't hear an answer. They didn't like the question. I said, what do they do? Just raise their hand? Is that how they get on there? I said, we need to have some kind of system. So anyway, Cowlitz County did express their concerns that this wasn't the right way to go. And I will tell you, some counties are looking at legal action because they feel it's illegal, that they violated a law. I said, I'm sure we would be more than happy to look at that too, if you do the research and you let us, you want to send it our way for review. Because it means, it's a $10 million hit. If all that property all of a sudden is out of production, that's $10 million hit to this county. Then with the 77,000 acres the governor's proposing, that's another big hit to this county. We have 5 or 6 mills in this county that depend on lumber. In 2024, our lumber harvest in the state of Washington was the lowest. It was the second lowest in history. You have to go all the way back to the Depression to get those kind of numbers. In fact, it was below the threshold that could sustain all lumber processing mills in our state. So this kind of activity will bring some consequences to this county at some point in time. So you can see why we were distressed with this decision, not happy about it, and really not happy that our representative didn't have the backbone to at least voice their opinion. So that's just an update on that. With that, I'll open it up to you. It's your meeting.
Oh, not on that. Can I talk about something other than what we were talking
Oh,
about?
yeah, I was just bringing you up to date on that.
Well, I really don't want to be negative. However, I want to, the term circle back, okay? To our budget of 11 million and X that we spent this week.
Oh, the vouchers?
The vouchers, yes.
Okay.
Okay, now, we're just general public coming here, listening to what you guys are having to pay and everything. We understand things need to be paid for. And I haven't been to any of the workshops and I don't see one offered here for finances. But when you just say special person, purpose district and then the number, it doesn't tell us anything. And so we have no knowledge of what you're spending any of this on except for, well, payroll is pretty explicit. That's, and then claims, that says nothing to us. Can we be more specific on what we're paying money out? Because it's a whole lot of money. And we'd really like to know what it's going for. Can we do that?
I don't have the quick answer on that because I don't know how it comes to us, but
Okay, well, it would make, I believe, the
no,
public,
everything goes through the auditor and it has to be approved as a legitimate expense. I can tell you that.
well,
And this is so
I'm sure
large
it-
because we missed a meeting, so
pardon?
this is so large because we missed a meeting. Last week, we didn't have a meeting, so it would have been about half of this much which is what we normally see.
Well, even at a half, you're talking
But-
millions.
Right.
Okay, and as a person of the public, we would like to know where this money is going. And again, special purposes district doesn't tell us anything, claim does not tell us anything. We would like to have you be more specific, and if they could do that, I think you'd find people more willing to understand what's happening in the county and why you need X amount of money, and be more willing to be a little bit more favorable to you spending it.
Yeah.
It just that when we look at this, it sounds like you're,
Yeah.
it raises red flags that I'm sure that there shouldn't be. But it's like,
Flo, I'll ask that question. Here's what I can tell you. All the commissioners get details of these that come to us. And we log in and we see them and like one of these can be several pages. That
Oh.
adds up to, say, 1,851,000, just claims the third line down, 1,851,000. Well, we'll get an email, we'll log in and we can see all the detail in that, but it's pages. So I don't know how many pages they want to put in here.
And you can't summarize those, we know what it's.
Well, and they may be, and that's what the question will be. Maybe they're grouped in like a general area that says, hey, this is Hall of Justice, or this is
That would be,
administration building.
okay,
what-
that would be really great.
We'll check on that, but I can't promise because I just don't know.
Well, we knew we're, like you said, if Hall of Justice, oh, okay, now, and because in
Yeah.
our minds, a lot of us are, some of us, well, a lot of us are having to stretch our budgets. And if we see a certain area that's getting a tremendous amount of money, we would like to know.
Yeah.
And, what's the justification of that department getting X amount? I mean, granted, we have to have roads and that has to be a certain amount, of course, we have to have certain things, but some of them we would like to know about that. If there is a huge amount in one area, we'd like to know about why. It just, because it's our money. It's not their money, it's out of our pocket.
Trying to
Thank
find an
you.
easy way to do this.
Yeah.
without Making a Bible agenda that we had to print
We,
every week.
we were looking next Tuesday, the 2nd, we actually will have a hearing on the budget. It'll be the first time. It'll be a public hearing. You'll get to see the budget and ask all kinds of detailed questions, I hope. Ron?
Yes, please, let's go back to the Forest Practices Board.
Yeah,
We, the citizens of this city, county, state, are seeking representation. This Forest Practices Board did not represent us. And furthermore, we've been stabbed by just what you said. The person that was supposed to represent us through you, the county commissioners, since you, the county commissioners, are our closest example of representation of the people. So basically, I'm saying is that that representative should have stood up and said abstaining is, I don't have a word for it I want to say right now, but anyway, that's non-representation. That person could have, again, reiterated the impact on the counties and the state and the economic environment in the state to be on record in doing that and representing the forest businesses. So this is a dereliction of duty, and I'm asking you as county commissioners, and hopefully the commissioners throughout the state should be able to put a statement together representing the people in all of your constituencies and clearly spelling out the impact of this crazy Forest Practices Act that did not represent the people. And we know the regulations that were put in was a land grab. It didn't really have to do with preserving our fish, because if they were going to do that, they would have given some leeway for shading us and having some definition of science and other things. So it is purely, in at least as a representation here, a land grab.
Yeah, and I did express that. I've actually, I talked about the financial impact to Cowlitz County, talked about the impact to the mills, spoke to the fact that it was purely a land grab and that the science didn't support. In fact, after that meeting, the scientists that came on basically said the work they've done, what's in place right now, has been 93% successful. It's worked wonderfully.
Yeah.
So there is no need for this. And in fact, another gentleman brought up that there has been some studies that show even if you log all the trees, as the underbrush grows, it's even better. And the scientists agreed with that.
The Deschutes River is a perfect
Yeah,
example of
that the undergrowth that naturally grows when you take the trees out actually provided more cover and did better temperature control of the streams that they're worried about than leaving the first buffer of trees. So there's absolutely no reason for this. And I tried to be tactful, but I felt like I was clear that this was an impact to the county and it wasn't appreciated that we didn't say something.
Well, this certainly is not the end of it. We certainly, the land grab will continue until it's curtailed.
Yeah.
And so we need to know how we can help you to help us and have people representation, because it's going to go over the other side of the mountains. It goes to the farmlands. It just keeps going until, again, we know that there are certain elements in our society that thinks everything in public ownership would be the best for everyone, which we know ultimately is the end rather than the solution.
I can tell you right now, DNR is working on best forest practices for Eastern Washington and Western Washington. And with current leadership that you have up there with this Up the Grove or whoever, however you say his name, it's not going to be good.
Correct. So again, I'm just reiterating, you commissioners are our closest representation of elected individuals. And we need to know if we call in our senator or our representatives and put them on the spot for asking about these boards that are not representative, but are having a political agenda
Yeah.
that they back.
You should absolutely do that because I do it when I meet with them. I talk about these boards that are given way too much power that they should not have. If you got somebody with any lick of courage that sit up there, I'd get rid of these boards in a heartbeat. It'd just be done.
Right. And
They
the
could
more,
scream and holler all they wanted.
and just a little bit more, or continue, I'll say,
Yeah.
like you're giving us an update at people's rights and other meetings throughout the county and the committees. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I know you,
All this is really good and well, talking about money, great, great, but we have a serious safety issue in Cowlitz County. I'm very lucky to have my neighbor here, Dale Slanger, who's done incredible effort to try to clean up this mess. And Dale, if you don't mind telling him what you've done, we have a serious danger that continues to get worse. Please, Dale, tell him what you've done. Thank you.
We got a lawyer up there on Walker Road. We finally got a lawyer.
Yeah, because nobody else would do anything. And we got a court order for him to clean it up, and he refuses to clean it up. And the police refused to enforce the court order. Why? We pay our taxes, we live on a private road, but we can't get anything done. Do we have to get a vigilante committee or something, or how do we go about doing this?
Well, I can give you the simple answer. You won't like it.
I can't hear very
I,
good.
I can give you the simple answer, but you won't like it. You're on a private road. Private roads are owned by you guys. It's like, say you have a field and you have a fence line and then a neighbor comes and builds a new fence line and does like 10 or 15 feet on your property. Becomes a civil matter between you and your neighbor. And that's what this is. It's a civil matter because it's a private road. It's not a county road. Now, we take ecology and stuff comes into effect if he's, it's sometimes hard to get ecology in them to act, but if he's dumping oil or he's doing those type of things, but, other than that, and I know it's not the answer you guys want to hear, but it's a road owned by you. And so it's a civil matter between you and the person abusing your road.
Okay, we've got a court order. Now, why won't the police enforce it?
Yeah.
If I can speak to
What do
that.
we have
Yeah.
to do to do that? Because I mean, it's getting down where this guy's threatened us with guns and
I-
everything else. And it's getting.
I see that.
Somebody's gonna get hurt.
When he's doing
We couldn't get an
threatening,
ambulance in there the other night for a guy that's dying from cancer because his shit was piled in the road.
yeah.
I mean, it's getting clear out of hand.
So I think that the process, because as the chairman stated, it is a civil matter. What needs to be done is whoever filed the original court order needs to file what's called a notice of contempt to the court, and then she will have the deputies go and take care of the issue. The court needs to be notified that he is not
In
following
compliance.
orders that were given to the court, given by the court. So I believe it's called the notice of contempt. That needs to be filed with the court, and then the judge will go ahead and have the deputies go and take care of the issue.
Okay, that gives us something more to go on then. Because we can't get any answers out of anybody. And I mean, it's getting awful frustrating. We've been at this for over a year. We've got a 60-foot easement through there. Been there for years. I mean, ever since that development was built up there. I've lived up there for over 30 years. I used to grade the road all the time with my grader just so we had a good, decent road. And then all of us chipped in together and we had it blacktopped. It's not wide enough, but it's blacktop. 2 cars can pass pretty good. But you had to get off on the gravel if you met a pickup with a trailer or anything, or a truck. You had to get over in the gravel a little bit to get by. And this guy's got so much piled in the road that you can't even pass 2 cars without hitting the mirrors on them.
And my understanding is you don't need an attorney to file that paperwork. You can just go to the clerk's office, request that form, fill it out, and then get it on the docket. for the
Which
judge.
office?
The clerk's office over at the
Court
court
office, okay.
Yeah. Clerk of the board, or the clerk's office, yeah.
Yeah. And it is called the notice of contempt. Is that what the right word?
I believe that's right.
I think that's what it's called. Mhm.
Okay, well, that gives us something more to go on. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Morning, gentlemen.
Right.
Morning.
Wally Wentz, county resident, business owner here in town. I was, 2 things. I want to comment on abstaining. First, what recourse do the people have? I have heard nothing but abstaining on a hard vote from school boards where I live out in the county,
Yeah.
from school boards here in Longview and Kelso. And now something I wasn't even aware of and has sharpened my pencil this morning. Mr. Dahl, you sound like you represented us, but we sitting in the audience feel that we're powerless. My friend of 25 years, Dale, who just left, he understands and wants to do it the right way. And I appreciate you, Mr. Steve, for helping him out to get him there. He doesn't want to go get the Winchester, and I don't want to go get the Winchester. We want to know how to do it right within the lines of the law. And God bless us for being ignorant. We still have heart. We're not going to settle for abstaining much longer.
Yeah.
We need your help. Enough said there, and my blood pressure's back down. I personally, in behalf of my children and grandchildren, and 90% of the patrons of my business here in Kelso, the Kelso High FFA trap team, the Woodland FFA trap team, the Castle Rock participants, the Tool participants have had a place to learn gun safety, to take hunter's ed, to participate in FFA-sponsored sportsmanship, gun safety, and an athletic outlet, including firearms, to teach this generation about their Second Amendment rights. I really would like a more detailed update than what I was able to find online about the transition of ownership / operational perspective going forward for the Cowlitz Public Range.
I can tell you, Wally, that I've spoken with the trap coach from Kelso and Tudor Lake, and they have been in contact with Mike Moss. They've already got arrangements made for the kids to start practicing. It's not going to impede on their practice schedule. We will have deputies that will be there and volunteers that will be there to help them with that. So they're not going to really feel a change in their practice schedule with regards to their trap shooting.
Access won't be narrowed.
They're gonna be able to continue to practice on the same days and the amount of time that they were practicing before.
So Sundays are still for the kids on the trap
So.
range. That's outstanding. The additional concern with transition to county, is ownership the right word of the range and operationally?
The county owns it now.
Understood.
We're
but
having,
Operationally,
yeah,
who's in charge? It says Parks and Recreation, is that correct?
well, Parks and Recreation, but ultimately decisions come before this board.
Outstanding. That's a
Yeah.
good answer for me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Having at least a little bit personal relationship with the three of you, I understand where your heartfelt sentiment might be on the Second Amendment.
And I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. I think we all support the range out there and want to see it
Very much. So.
be viable and operate, and we feel like it has a great benefit, so we have no intention of shuttering it or doing away with it.
I guess I get concerned when it moves away from an organization that's
Yeah.
successfully run and then get into competitive bid laws and or regulations and see the decline in availability, upkeep, perseverance. We waited in this county most of my adult life for a public range. We don't have the timberlands anymore.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like, well, it's just one range. Well, it's the only place people have to lawfully shoot except on private property or on state property with stringent rules, which I don't have a problem with. The state land is all of ours to use in accordance with law.
Well, Wally, I would say that I agree with everything that you said with one exception, and that is that it's been successfully ran. If you look at the numbers of shooters that we have had over the last 10 years to current date, it has declined in the thousands, the number of people that are visiting that range. And one of the things that we have heard from a lot of people that are there is because of the way that it's been run. So we're wanting to keep it open. What we want to do is make it to where it's more viable. We bring the number of shooters back to the range because it's not that people in Cowlitz County don't like to shoot. And for us to see the numbers decline in the thousands, that speaks volumes to us. So it was time to make a change.
Okay, well, I will take that face value for sure. I have a level of trust sitting here looking at you three mugs. I got no problem with that. I have problem with the unknown, and I ain't got a lick of gypsy in me for forecasting the future. But it seems like most things touched and engulfed by the government rarely improve and generally cost more.
I would agree with
Amen.
that.
That's a true statement.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Wally.
Thank you.
Hi, gentlemen. Just a quick question. How would you make the shooting range viable? Will people buy will they buy admission or how do you bring money into, and how would you make it viable?
Well, I'll go ahead and speak first. That is a plan that is ongoing. We have talked with Mike, the Director of Public Works and Parks. And one of the things that I brought up is when I go to visit family in Idaho and we go to the shooting ranges there, they have shooting activities, shooting competitions. They have, I mean, they bring in people. They have events that bring people in. You pay a fee,
Yeah.
you get a prize, that type of, we have nothing like that
Okay.
at all.
Okay.
There's a myriad of different things that we're looking at doing and possibly implementing. But one of the main things that we're looking at is we put it out to RFP and we didn't get a single request except for the people that are running it now, which means that businesses are looking at how that is run and the revenue that's being brought in, and they're not even touching it. So we want to get it to a point to where a business can look at it and say, hey, that's actually run pretty good. It's not being subsidized. Yes, we will go ahead and put an RFP. Ultimately, the goal is to have a private entity take it over. That's, unless we're not on the same page with
Nope,
that. I think that's
we're-
where we're at.
We're all on the same page there, I think.
All righty. Thank you so much.
Anything else?
Court-ordered programs and implementation. I'm going to go back to your item number 8 on the agenda today that said that, I'm sorry, not 8, item number 5, where we approved $22,920 for services for court-ordered outpatient sex offender treatment for juveniles. Now,
Yeah.
how do you for us and with us monitor that things are happening again, court-ordered, whatever it might be? We seem to have a hole in following up on court-ordered implementations.
Yeah. You know, Commissioner Rader brought that question up pretty much yesterday when we were doing prep for this. And the question to them was recidivism rates and how do we monitor that? And they didn't have an answer
Not really.
for you.
No.
So I think we totally agree, and we asked we would like to see some of that detail as to what is the actual treatment that's happening and is it working? Is there problems with reoccurrence or is there not? And we didn't get a clear answer on that yesterday. At least I didn't feel we did.
And I believe they can only be in that program for 2 years or until they age out. And it becomes it's not costing us any money. It's a pass-through issue, but they have to manage it through the juvenile center to try and keep track of that. And like he said, there was no numbers for the recidivism and find out how successful is this being? And is it passing it on from one generation to another? Or is it actually fixing something?
Correct.
As Wally so clearly pointed out, when it becomes part of the government, you lose track and they don't.
Okay, but you're allocating, representing us, our money for these.
States
elements.
allocating.
Well, state, it's
Yeah.
still our money.
Yeah.
Yes, right. And so are you not able to have some sort of a caveat with that says we would like to have a report at the end of the year or at somewhere along the way saying what were the number of cases and what was the result? And that if we don't monitor it, we certainly don't expect improvement in the process. I'm just asking is that we're knowing truth, transparency, and accountability, the secret words for us fighting back to in non-representative agencies in government.
I believe we can put caveats in those types of things. When it's state money, I don't know about that, but I did ask George yesterday if he could please come up with a list or a number showing us the number of people that are on that 2-year program and whether or not they end up on a sex offender list as adults. I'm trying to simplify it for them so that we get, so we have some sort of a metrics that we can go by as to whether or not these programs are useful and if we're getting something out of it. So he said he was going to look into that and see, but ultimately, I don't know about money that is passed through, but if we can create caveats and if we can create situations where we want to see an end result and we can come up with a program or metrics to do so, I believe we should on every penny that we give out, whether it's passed through or not.
Right. So anyway, again, we're asking a question, truth, transparency, and ultimately accountability. So thank you.
I think he said there's roughly about 6 kids a year that end up in this program.
Right. So 6 kids with $22,000 of support, there should be something tangible that we see out of it. Yeah.
Yep.
And ironically, the only reason we even saw it or seeing it because they want to change some wording in the contract.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? We're running a little bit behind. I know we have a workshop going. You see any, I don't see any messages. I don't see any hands. Gina, why don't we head into that?
Real quick,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, am I good to recuse myself to go get on that call?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Okay, good morning, Gina James, Health and Human Services. We have Community House on Broadway here today for a work session. I just wanted to give a couple reminders to the board. We have a Community House here today. We have another community partner next week, and I think one more who's just reached out that I'll be working with the clerk to schedule. Interested in talking to the board about their needs and including maybe a funding need. So I just wanted to give you that full picture. We don't need to have any decisions today, but this is an opportunity to hear from our community partner and for consideration. So I'll invite Community House up. I see Frank coming up. And I will step down. You guys can use all 3 of these spaces if you need to.
Yeah, Chair, enjoy Lisa.
Just make sure the green light is on.
Gotcha. Thank you, Gina.
All right, well, I'll wait for Steve to get back.
Steve we're having,
Oh, is he leaving for, okay, gotcha. Okay, so you guys are ready to go.
yeah.
All right, well, thank you for the opportunity to be here and kind of explain the thought process around the request. I'm going to have Jordan Wisdom. He's Chief Operating Officer for Core Health, as well as helps with community house operations as we collaborate together. As you know, we have about 800 people that go through community house each year. Last year, there was about 800. With that, well, 751 actually. With that, 54% of the adults come through the judicial system. So 54% of the adults that come to community house have been through the judicial system. Best Place, we have a certain amount of percentage at Best Place out of the 45 kids that we've had so far. CPS and juvenile detention, once again, we are kind of a base for juvenile detention. In other words, they refer people to us, or if kids come to us that are on probation, they're in compliance if they come to live at Best Place. Then I wanted to talk about TBRA briefly. TBRA, tenant-based rental assistance, and I'm going to have Jordan describe these here in a minute. But I have a sheet here that shows the TBRA statistics from 2022 through 2025, so about a 3-year period, 3.5 years. We had a total of 35 families or 35 households that received funds to help them
as they integrate back into transitional housing, then on into their own stable housing on their own. 28 of those 35 are families. So even though it's funding just the household, the tenant-based rental assistance, even though it's that, it's 3 or 4-fold because well, 75% of the families are single moms. So a lot of single moms. So 28 of those families, they have probably 2 to 4 kids. That helps them to get stabilized out of our supervision, but still case managed. So you'll see we have requests in regards to that as well. The premise that goes into this thinking of 18 to 25-year-olds is Core Health only serves 8% of our clients are 18 to 25, which is devastating. Something's wrong. 18 to 25-year-olds aren't doing behavioral health. And I think we know where they're at. You know, the ones that need it. They probably have come through the judicial system, might be coming from jail. So we have a proposal for that as well. Jordan, why don't you explain each of the 3 grant topics?
Yeah, thank you, Frank. Thank you, commissioners, for hosting this workshop today. The first, there are 3 project kind of proposals, just working drafts in front of you. The first one to discuss is titled Young Adult Transitional Housing Pilot Project. So as Frank mentioned, we've identified, along with our board of directors and community partners, that the need for housing, stability in that transition period for 18 to 25-year-olds. We're seeing that in the community, driven by mental health, substance use struggles, non-traditional family structures, cycle of domestic abuse and trauma, limited safety nets specific for this demographic. Often we see a lot of community safety nets are geared more towards adults and households versus young adults kind of in that transition stage. And then we also recognize that we're seeing young adults transition out of incarceration and back into community living and having barriers there as well. So our funding proposal is really a pilot projects working with a local hotel in town to do a master lease on 32 units of the hotel, 4 of which would have a kitchenette. The rest would have access to like community cooking and living space, individual rooms with en-suite, washroom facilities, bathrooms in that nature, and targeting the beds across a mix of both abstinence-based and recovery adherence or recovery accountability beds, and then also some low barrier beds focused on reentry from incarceration. So with the request, we did put together a pro forma budget proposal for discussion, just to put some numbers out there. We would be looking at partnering with the county for funding for the bulk of that request, and then offsetting some of the operational costs with rent participation in those transitional housing units. So transitional housing is up to a 2-year program for individuals that would be participating in either side of the program, either the abstinence and accountability-based side or the fewer number of beds that are low barrier-based. The bulk of that would be a master lease on the property, and also facility incidentals, utilities, items of that nature, and then some specific staffing needs to ensure safety and security and support of the individuals in the program, both through case managers, a program manager, and then also evening security shift house manager type roles. I'll turn that back over to Frank if there's anything else to add on that
per year
idea
amount Now, I wanted to let you know that the 8% of 18 to 25-year-olds that we treat at Core Health, last month, we saw 2,500 clients and unduplicated in a month. So that's a very low percentage. And I know it's happened in one way. We see kids throughout their school years, and then at 18 years old, they just discharge out. And we really need them to, that's out of anything. That's a real tough, challenging, identifying part of their life. And so we want to get them on track. So that's for that one.
So on this pilot program, I see that Core Health would establish a dedicated behavioral team on site.
That's right.
At this motel.
Yep. Yep. And the hotel owner actually sought me out over a course of 2 or 3 months because he wanted to do something good for the community. And I thought, yeah. And then I got to looking at this 18 to 25-year-olds, and then he continued to persist. We want to make a deal. We want to lease the facility to you to help the community. And so, yeah, and he's well aware of the population that we're aiming to reach.
If you have Core Health people on site, are they not billing the state?
Yes, so
Yeah.
So you're getting money off of this.
Core Health
Right.
would be a community partner in providing those services there on site, yes. So Core Health would be providing reimbursable fee-for-service behavioral health care to the individuals according to their treatment plan and diagnosis.
So in that, remember, there are only certain billable moments. And so Community House on Broadway has a team, including the case manager. And in the past, I've told this to Gina, Core Health actually helps Community House with its staffing cost at Chess and Best Place so that we can make it financially. And now, even with that, we're having a shortfall because we're doing 160 to 170 people a day that need the stability. So there is billable time, but that's taken into consideration here. And actually, it's a very effective method because we have close to an 80% success rate. And I don't know if you saw this on this, well, I'll get to the TBRA in a minute. This is pilot project. You want us to present the next one?
Yeah, why don't we just go through the projects?
Yeah.
We may come back.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. The second project here is titled Operational Funding Support for Unaccompanied Youth Shelter, or Best Place. We opened in December 2024. We have served roughly since opening about 50 unaccompanied youth between the ages of 13 and 17. And through this program, we provide shelter, food, meals, case management, and support to these unaccompanied homeless youth. The facility is licensed by DCYF and operates under a pretty strict regulatory framework, specifically because it's serving individuals under the age of 18. So DCYF has a lot of requirements around staffing levels and ratios. As we've gotten into the project, we've identified nuances of serving this age group specifically in accordance with the DCYF regulatory framework. There's a lot of case management requirements, unique schooling schedules. Frank mentioned that a number of the individuals that have entered the program have come from juvenile detention referrals, and also other more high needs inpatient settings, such as like the CLIP program. So we're bringing in kids that may not be on a standard school schedule or may not attend traditional schooling educational opportunities. So with that, there's a lot of extra just staffing needs that we've identified, and transportation, and making sure that kids are able to get into their appointments, get to their doctor appointments, get to school. And then as they've been successful in school, as they've been successful in reintegrating into like a full day school schedule, for example, they then start doing really awesome things that are socio-normal for a child that is in high school, such as playing soccer on the school sports team. So that again adds additional complexities that we are excited and happy to help meet the need of, but it does add just an additional staffing burden from some original forecasts in our planning. With that, we are looking at a funding shortfall of approximately $250,000 a year for operations, 160 to support the additional staffing needs, program expenses, and also just some support with utilities and running the facility.
How many kids are in there right now?
About a dozen, usually about a dozen at a time.
About a dozen at a time.
Yeah, and what we're doing is, the
And these are
schools,
juvenile referrals or from the
well, they're
court system?
between juvenile detention, but often it's coming from the McKinney-Vento counselors at Kelso and Longview schools.
Yeah,
So then like Nancy, you know,
yeah,
she,
your initial deal showed,
100,000 times 5.
well, it showed unaccompanied use 31. This was from McKinney-Vento students.
Mhm.
31 in Longview, 26 in Kelso, 49 in Castle Rock.
Right. Oh, that was from 2023. Yep.
Yeah.
And that was the survey, and that was their survey for unaccompanied youth, because that's our target. Because all kids, they're not all unaccompanied. They might be with their families.
And we expected 24 to begin with and then up to 48, but now we have 12.
Well, 48, honestly, it's, we license it for the first 2 years as 24 at a time. Here's the complexity that we run into. We have to do a different outreach method with the schools because they will not let us come in and speak to the school, you know, as a whole, or even as in classes about the shelter. And so I've got a different method that we're gonna go through to let all the schools know we've got a youth shelter. And then when I say schools, the kids in the schools.
Why won't they let you come in and talk?
They say if they let us in, then they gotta let everyone in, you know, to present. And to me, it's kind of there's no other youth shelter around like us. We just talked to one in Spokane, one in the Tri-Cities. We're one of the few in the state. And so I do have a different method that we're gonna go, and I think it'll be effective. Because, you know, Rick, I've been frustrated with the low amount. We've had up to 17 initially, and it fluctuates. But Jordan did mention something here. We've been fighting with the state about having cameras in the common areas. Because in the common areas, there might be fights, there might be accusations that a student might say something about a staff member or another resident, and we got no way of verifying. You know, we have to have 3 staff at all times if we have over 8 kids. Every 8, we need another staff member, so it's a 1 per 8. And so that includes throughout the night.
And the state position is you can't have cameras?
We can't have cameras inside the common areas. Not even inside the common areas, like the halls or the common, but we're working on that with the state. The reason this, we're teaming up with Crosswalk in Spokane because they're frustrated too. They actually have their cameras on during the day, and then at night at 9 p.m. to 9 a.m., they have to shut them off. That was their agreement with their senator and state. So we're going to go in together and battle that. So I'm glad we don't have 24 right now, to tell you the truth, because we are a parent to each one of those kids. And if you've ever heard of the CLIP program, that's, we've had a couple of kids come through the CLIP program that live at Best Place. And one had lived there for 18 months. That's Children's Long-Term Inpatient Placement Program. And they go up to Tacoma and they live in a cottage and they, it's very expensive for the state. So it's kids that have exhausted the behavioral health system locally. And it's a high, you know, very low percentage of people qualify, but this gal qualified. She's been clean and sober for 9 months since she's been in. Progressively, we've got her to the place. She is not threatening suicide. She came in kind of as a gangster mentality, and now she's an athlete. And it's really exciting to see the transformation. They wouldn't even take her in the schools. So the level of kids that we're taking, like I said, we're fortunate because we're talking CPS cases, et cetera. CPS literally dropped someone off at our place. And then the very next day, they're no longer awarded the state. They're our responsibility. So those are high liability situations. So the state should allow us to have cameras.
How long has it been open now?
Since, Christmas Eve, it got licensed last year, but we didn't have any people come until like January, mid-January.
So you're about 10, 11 months into it.
Yeah. And it's a learning curve, Rick. It's way different than operating just community house because you're running around all day long.
You know what the expense has been for those 11 months?
Jordan, well, here's the deal. Core Health pays for the staffing and that's what, 45,000 a month?
Mhm.
That's 45,000 a month. And that's Core partnering because I designed Core for community house. However, if we continue to do that, that really dips into Core Health's operating funds. And we're doing good because we bust our buns and work hard. But we really, we need this extra help just for the first. I talked to Gina and she said, is this for all 3 shelters? And I said, well, yeah, ultimately it is, but it's all in a centralized budget. If people designate to the Best Place, the money goes to Best Place operations. However, it's very costly, but it's very effective because half of the kids that come in with us are struggling with substance use. I mean, they're buying off TikTok. Drugs off TikTok, a 13-year-old. And so now he's clean and sober. He's been with us for, I don't know how many months now, maybe 6. And he's doing pretty good.
Yeah. Well, your projected budget was $1.4 million. So I'm just trying to understand if we're close to that or whatever.
We are coming in under that projected budget. We've had great support from the community, especially with private donors and going after private foundation grants. Those have not materialized to the level that we initially forecast. So we are projecting to run a budget deficit for the Best Place program in the coming fiscal year.
Yeah.
And so we would be running 45,000 a month times 12 in debt if Core Health wasn't participating in this. And we're 2 separate organizations, 2 separate nonprofits.
Well, it feels like the whole, I don't want to put it, expectation of this center is changed. It's, you just said you're having kids come in and you're with drug problems. Well,
Half of them.
Yeah.
have.
When we were sitting here, we were talking to the schools that said, we have these kids that have family issues, but they're trying to do the right thing in school, and a lot of them are succeeding, but they don't have a place to stay. And that was the proposal, to help these kids that are trying to do the right thing, and now we're in a drug detox center.
Well, hold on a sec here. I
mean, that's what it
apologize.
sounds like.
Okay, but you're talking about when they're with the families, but these guys, let me give
Talking
you
about
some.
how it was presented.
I got you, because it's unaccompanied youth it's supposed to be. And we knew unaccompanied youth would be presenting drug and alcohol issues, because they are, one example, kind of a state qualifying athlete. Dad's no longer alive. Mom's no longer around. He's alone. We're raising him, and he's doing outstanding. And we're doing kids that want to. One of our board members said, we're not here to try to help those that are putting on the brakes as we push them through the stoplight. We're here to help those that are willing to do that work. So we have kids that run away, we exit them, but overall, early intervention is a big deal, especially in curtailing the amount of single moms, right? Is the largest family population that's homeless. Well, when do they start getting pregnant? Teenage years, some of them. So we are reducing the amount of collateral damage that's to come if we aren't interceding on their behalf, and they're just kind of raising themselves. These are unaccompanied youth. And so, yeah. Am I waiting?
Hang on just a second.
Sure.
I just commented, I'm confused with the initial proposal. I was under the impression the schools were all on board with it. And if they are doing under half of their designed and funded capacity, I don't see the need for more dollars. It's just a comment.
Well,
Comment through.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that brings up the point, if they're on board, the fact that they won't let you come in and talk about it,
it's a
flabbergasts me.
Yeah.
Well, I could tell you there's well, gosh golly. If they refer a kid to us, they're worried about the liability of them being tied in with a lawsuit, because that can happen, so they're very cautious on that.
So explain to me how, if they're referring a kid, it
Well,
must be a kid that's got parents that wants the kids back.
Let's say someone was sexually abusing someone else, and they previously knew about it, but they couldn't tell us, and they've never been charged. But they knowingly, CPS has this situation, where they'll send someone in, and when that abuse could happen, that's when the lawsuit begins and they get tied into it. So they're very cautious on that. And my idea, so that you know, is Core Health goes out into the schools in mass. We have 230 staff now, and we have probably around 40 or 50 counselors between peer, bachelors, and masters that go to the schools. And so my thinking is that's who we should be notifying. Those kids that we see, notify them with a flyer or something like that. Hey, if you got friends or whatever that don't have parents around anymore, here's Beth's place. Just let them know. And not be heavy-handed, but that's like how many would you say junior high, senior high? We got like 100 kids at Mark Morris in itself. Core Health does. And then we got probably 80 or 90 or 80 at Kelso High and probably 60 at RA Long right now. So if we pass those flyers out to them, they're the ones that talk to the other kids and have friends that know. Because it's, and so that keeps the school out of the liability of it.
a kid can self-refer, and we have had kids self-refer.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Rick?
Yeah, I just,
It's a process. This is brand new.
but would it surprise you if I said, you're probably familiar with Janice House?
Sorry?
Janice House?
Janice
Janice-
doesn't have a house.
Janice-
They got 11 beds in Vancouver. And
They're
we
right
never.
over by they're
No.
right over by the coroners.
Have you ever looked at their sign or stopped by there? They just
Yeah, I
like,
have.
they stop and they do, you know, I know the people, but they
They've
don't
had
have
seven, the
they-
last time I was over there, 77 kids were coming through there.
77 kids. Did you see them? Or did you just tell you that? Because the reality is we've seen a lot of false statistics and I'm not accusing them of that. But
Would it surprise you if I
unduplicated-
say I hear the same things about you?
Well, but we track. We
Good.
track.
Do you audit your stuff?
Yeah.
You have an independent audit? I'd love
Rick,
to see an independent
we
audit of
are-
all your stuff.
Okay.
I mean,
You go ahead and assign someone. We don't have the money, but you can assign someone to audit our statistics if you
well,
want.
and that's a possibility. I mean,
Doesn't bother us, but right now, we're not getting any funds from
I know.
the county.
but you're a business, right?
Nonprofit business that's out here to
You're a
help the
business.
kids.
You
that-
operate like a business, so
Yeah.
I'm surprised the
Well-
board doesn't ask for an independent audit once in a while.
Well, you're talking financial is something that we do. If
Mhm.
we're talking about our statistics, that's different. Okay, and a lot of times you're not allowed to share the names, so we de-identify and we go through it. Because you're arguing
Well-
about statistics, not money at this point. You're doubting our stats because the 77 kids, they say, and then you hear the same thing about us.
I'm not doubting your stats. When you tell me there's 12 at a time, I'm wondering why.
Because
because-
we haven't been able to get the schools to buy in and kids like their freedom.
They all sit right in here when we did this and said we were supporting it. So it just,
I know.
I find
that.
it amazing.
I know that, but there was a lawsuit. It did happen. Okay? And they're very aware of that. So they're very fearful of being implicated in that. Does that make sense? I didn't want to bring that out, but that's the reality.
Well, I can understand there's not a lot of people with backbone out anymore.
No, there's
They're-
no one
they're
willing
afraid
to
of
take this on.
Every stupid little thing.
But this is high-end liability. We're taking teenagers, 13 to 17, and it's unaccompanied youth is our goal.
I get it. And we put $2 million into this
Yeah,
and we said, we'll do the building, but I don't want to run the operations. And now
well,
you're
we're just
wanting us to
asking
run
for
the
help on
operation.
this 2 million, or, you know, you've got $11 million. 20% of it could come to
I don't
those.
have $11 million.
Well, you guys, there is $11 million, 80% goes to low barrier. 20% goes to high barrier. We're looking for high barrier dollars on the best place funds. The low barrier dollars is coming out of the jails. The 18 to 25-year-olds coming out of the jails. And that's a way to curtail the community. We're filling a gap. And no one else wants to do this stuff. They're not brave enough. And it's no joke. It's difficult stuff. I hate saying no joke. I hate that line.
So how long's Community House been around?
88.
88.
Okay, and Best Place opened a year ago.
Yep.
I guess I would find it hard to believe if you could find a student in any of the local high schools that aren't aware of Community House and Best Place just by word of mouth
Well,
after
Castle,
a year.
yeah.
And
Well, that's
even if-
why we're gonna get those flyers out. Okay? You know, you can doubt me. I think that method's gonna work, Steve, where we give out 600 of those flyers to the kids. Word of mouth takes place. Yes, you get to keep your phone unless you're doing naughty stuff. Yes, you actually get an allowance. Yes, you go to work from there. You go to sports from there. You actually have a chance to think about the future. instead of living day to day. And I'm not a poverty porn guy. I hate those stupid commercials. I hate them. But I am going towards the need. And we personally have done that by adopting 5 kids. And we see this even in them. So we know. And this is not a facade. This is reality. If I took that 45,000 that Core Health is paying for the salaries for Community House Beth's Place, how deep of a hole do you think we'd be? This would not happen. Core Health exists because I started it for Community House. So they're always going to be cross-pollinated, always. Can we go on to the next, Rick?
Yep.
Is that possible?
Yep.
Go ahead, Jordan.
The third project proposal is for tenant-based rental assistance, or TBRA, is it it's called by its acronym, project funding. So we're requesting 33,000 annually for 2 years. Really, the TBRA program has been operated by Community House on Broadway for a number of years and has historically operated that with funding from the city of Longview. Community House on Broadway follows the HUD TBRA standards and requirements and is audited to fidelity by those programs on those funds. And it is really focused on providing households with rent support for a finite timeline to get them just stably housed and into stable housing, leaving the shelter. It's been a successful program for Community House on Broadway. There is a additional addendum page in the packet that we handed out.
Eric,
with
go over that with them.
TBRA stats for the last 4 years, and I'll turn that over to Tara to speak to.
So we did stats from 2022, but we've actually been operating since 2017 with the City of Longview funds. 2020, well, we supported since 2022 35 households and spent a total of 97,000. And then you can see down the line, they have this.
Yes, they do.
So 2022, we supported 6 households and spent 13,000. Out of those 6, 5 were successful. And we did just check on these households 2 weeks ago to check in on the people that aren't still participating in mental health. 23, we did 9 households, and 7 of those are still enrolled in mental health services, and all of them are successful, and did 22,000. And you can see down the list.
We need that to keep Community House open for those that need that 6-8 month start, because they take, we do mental health, chemical dependent, and that's part of what the city did with this. We were literally, they had to comply, and we literally follow them out the door and do case management out at Country Run. So, and if they mess up the apartments or whatever, Community House is gonna help rectify, and client, if they're not gonna pay rent or if they're gonna damage the place, they either have a choice. They either clean it up and comply, or you're not gonna be back into Community House. It's not gonna be a safety net for you anymore. And like I said earlier, 28 out of the 35 are families. And it was one of the families, was there, out of the 3, was it that didn't succeed? I know one is a family.
Yeah, 1 is a family, and then the other 2 were singles.
Right.
But this program's been really successful, and having this funding to, it's kind of like that carrot with the people that are in Community House to, if they come a certain length within their own recovery and they're saving money, we offer this as kind of like, this is something that you could look forward to if you participate in your drug and alcohol treatment, your mental health treatment, and you get employment and you save money. And then this is something that really helps the single moms or the single parents to transition into stable housing, to have this cushion for a year or a year and a half while they're working on building even a further savings or getting a full-time employment and acclimating themselves and their children's into the community. And just to have that lesser rent, because as we know, rent's so high right now. So it has been very successful. And like I said, we've been successfully operating in this program since 2017.
And then you'll start damaging their recovery if they start getting comfortable. You know, living there with food made for them, you know, and we continue to expect, you know, them to participate, but they can self-sabotage. So it's important to get them out while we know that they've got good momentum. That way we've got the space for the next family.
And another thing that we utilize these funds for too is, let's say we successfully moved out a family or a single person and they're doing really well and maybe they lost their job for unfortunate circumstances. And they're still participating in our program in one area or the other, whether it's the supportive services for housing and employment or core mental health services. We can start this program up with them and keep them housed so that they don't lose everything.
So once again, this here is another high barrier, part of the 20%. Jordan, out of these three, are all of them, which are the high barriers, which are the low, and what portion of each?
Yeah, great question. So when looking at I believe it's called the Consolidated Homeless Grant, there is a requirement in that funding that we saw that 20% of the beds or bed projects supported by that grant, I believe, can be more higher barrier or accountability based. And as you are both aware with Community House on Broadway, that is our approach in recovery, is accountability and abstinence. Taking the Best Place shelter, that would fall into that category. That would support 24 beds. That's what the facility is licensed for. And that's the programmatic capacity at this moment is 24 beds. Looking at TBRA, we would see that supporting up to 8 households annually. And then looking at the young adult transitional housing pilot, we've actually divided that into 2 categories, both a high barrier abstinence-based category, as well as a low barrier subset of beds in that program, be 18 for the high barrier and 14 for low barrier.
And that's those coming from jail. In other words, instead of taking a left to go back to the old lifestyle, take a right, and let's keep momentum while you detoxed in jail or what have you. A lot of people get driven to community house because of jail and the fear of loss of rights. And so the judicial system, the CPS system, if it worked properly, are very effective in, you know, natural consequences for people going down certain roads. And I have a ton of staff that formerly came through addiction and have successfully transformed that are now staff in helping others.
Let me just share some stats with you, and this is not so much about these, but just kind of philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And when the layman looks at this and goes, are we creating a problem or are we actually solving anything? 2023, 2024, the stats I've seen, Washington State was the 3rd highest for those years in homeless growth. Followed,
Because it's
only
housing
following
first.
California and New York.
Yeah, housing first.
Chronic homelessness, we were #1 among the states.
Housing first.
56% increase. During that past decade, Washington State, we spent $5 billion on homelessness, 82% of that in the last 2 years.
Housing first.
So are we chasing solutions or are we chasing money? It feels
Trying-
like from my seat that we're chasing money.
We're not a housing first motto. We're not housing first. We're the opposite. We're high barrier. That's discrimination to the housing first motto. However, if people are coming right from jail, we could classify that as low barrier because they're coming from jail. We're going to give them the opportunity. And so, yeah, Washington, it sucks when it comes to the strategy. I think the Trump administration have realized and have seen how much there were certain, Dennis Culhane, University of Pennsylvania, designed this program from a Gates Foundation. And he did it starting with the veterans. And then they thought, oh gosh, golly, let's convert that over and make it into family. And well, let's just have all of them. Let's just get people off the street into a house and they'll do better. Without requiring anything of them, it's not going to work. And that's why ours works. We're not that. We have a 5 to 7% recidivism rate
Yeah.
annually.
You said you had about 800 people.
751 last year. I'm anticipating 800 this year.
Yeah.
Well, I would absolutely agree with you. Housing first is a miserable failure.
I've fought it since day one.
588 in 2022. Okay. So it is increasing in our county.
It's increasing because we're addressing
Yeah.
the problem.
And what's the annual, what's the annual budget? Total
over
annual
at-
budget.
Okay, how much? Jordan, tell me annual budget.
I believe right now it's around 2.5 million.
And out of that
For
2.5
community house on
million,
Broadway,
out of
it's
that
3
2.5
shelters.
million, Poor Health is paying how much? 90,000 a month?
Yes.
90,000 a month. Poor Health, another 501c3 is helping address the need because it behooves the behavioral health, if you really want to help people, to help those that are wanting to get better. And when it increased from 2022 to now, it's because we are effective, more effective as a behavioral health organization dealing with people. We have the medically fragile over by the hospital. And I've had that for years. We had a problem. Couldn't get upstairs. High psychosis. We have people that are schizophrenic that come out of it because I have psychiatric nurse practitioners at each site. I've got 6 psychiatric nurse practitioners, 6. When I sat here in 2012 and said, Phyllis Cavens, how many psychiatrists do we have in our county for children? 0. Eric Yakovich, how many? 0.7. You can look at the videotape if you want, but we're addressing the problem. It's a problem. CPS isn't effective. They don't believe, they need to take the kids away. There's 95 deaths or near deaths because they put kids back in environments where someone's using because of the Keeping Families Together Act. As long as one's not doing drugs. If the other one is, it's okay, keep the kid back in there. 95 deaths or near deaths because of fentanyl exposure.
Yeah.
Juvenile detention, heck, we're doing their work. And that's fine, that's fine. How much do they get each month? We don't argue that stuff. Core Health is helping, okay? We support John London and all those guys over there. Marilyn Hahn recently retired, but she said, most of these kids, we don't want them to become institutionalized. We don't. And so we're not a part of that. We're a home. We're their home, the kid's home. One was living in you pick her up from practically a garbage dump. We got pictures of it. a garbage dump. So
I'm sure
obviously,
that's
we're
true.
gonna increase the amount because the amount is hidden.
Yeah.
And the reason the state is failed is because they tried to get the hardest people off the street first instead of focusing on the families. This is,
I'm, you know, sometimes I'm taken as being harsh with people, and I'm really not trying to be harsh with you, Frank. I like you and we get along,
yeah,
but I will speak my mind and it just,
and that's fine.
I see you as a business entity. You're past the point of a volunteer agency. You're a business entity, and we're subsidizing a business entity and.
The startup.
And I can't subsidize any other business entities out here. It's, you know, we're in trouble. And I see us spending billions, literally billions of dollars to try and fix a problem that just keeps growing.
We're not housing first. That's where the money goes. Look at the.
I'm looking at it
This is
for
the
all problems.
first-
I
This
don't
is
care
the
what you
very
call it.
very first time they've ever put a percentage required for housing first. Years ago, I've been in this for a while. And Ted Culliher, that worked at the state, that headed it up, he said, as long as you have some form. Do you know that the 3 million or 4 million you throw to CAP every year? You know that? The HEN, Housing Essential Needs and all that? That's rapid rehousing. That's housing first. And you guys just plow it right on through, and that's fine. That's your prerogative. But you don't even know that.
I don't
And they're
know that I have a
paying,
whole lot of
and you know how much they're billing the hotels for the hotels? If it's a monthly rate, it's $60 a night. But if it's a week at a time, $110, $110 at minimum per night. And that's with no mental health, no chemical dependency, no ultimate requirements. And so we're holding people accountable. And businesses wouldn't jump out to do this. High liability. Why would they? We're just successful because we're doing it right. And we're committed to it. I've got lots of people that have been through the system and they know.
What I find frustrating is I have a lot of seniors that are on limited incomes. I have veterans that are struggling.
Yeah.
And I can't do a dang thing for them.
Well, we take.
But
care of them.
I got people that refuse to make the right decisions and
Yeah.
I can give them all kinds of money.
Yeah, well.
How does that make sense?
So we have 80-year-olds living at Chess. If Chess wasn't there, they'd be out on the street. So that's why Chess exists. That's why the numbers increased. That's your answer for that. Chess opened up in 2020. Well, no, you act like you're not believing me when I say that.
Well,
I'll give you
here's what I'll tell
I'll give you the
and
age
you're not,
breakdown.
and you're not gonna like this,
No, yeah.
but here's what I'll pass on to you because it comes to me
Mhm.
from more than one source. What I used to tell my folks when we had people and I'd hire somebody and give them a job, I let them have some leeway on how they did their job. I had two requirements, two. One, it had to be ethical, and two, it had to be legal.
Yeah.
And what I hear is that community house is not always, doesn't always meet those standards.
Have you ever came to us and asked us? Because that's what Matthew
What,
18 said.
I asked if you had audits to look at some of that
We
stuff.
just
I
had
hear
an audit,
reports
we
of,
just had a mock audit from, what is it, Moss Adams, just last year.
okay?
And
I'm
now
just
we're
telling you
getting,
things I hear, and so get me comfortable. How are you
well,
gonna get
you
me
never
comfortable
asked.
then?
You never asked, and you didn't let me know these things. And we do appreciate your, feedback. Because people will say all kinds of things when we're kicking them out for drug use. Heck, I've had affairs all over the place. I'm down at the hotel spending money. I have a home in Montana. Some people say, I've heard that term before. Just come to me and ask. And I will literally show
Budget
you.
reports to the state. Do you do those type of things? I'm asking.
Yes. Yeah, T-Burn were held accountable, DCYF micro accountable. I don't like lying. I don't like laziness, and I never have.
I don't either.
Okay, we're on the same page. So I'm not gonna lie about our stats. And I'm gonna, actually, I got a personality that charges towards the problem to try and help. And it's just the way I'm wired. This isn't glory to me. It's glory to Jesus. That's the reality. But laughing at me and thinking, I want you to trust us.
I've
I want
never
you to
laughed at
trust
you.
us.
I don't-
You're listening to people whisper and talk. We got lots of that in the community.
Listen to people that will take their time to actually sit down and say, hey, I'm seeing
Have-
this happening and I
Well,
can show you this.
Give me an example. Give me a hard example of what illegal acts we're doing.
One
Give me an
example I
example.
saw was a report written by a counselor or whatever you want to call him. And then the report that actually went to the state for reimbursement was totally different, rewritten.
What are we talking about? Show me the document. What do you, when
It's
was
been a-
it, Rick?
it's-
I'm not sure.
It's been a while. I don't,
Well, okay. I want hard facts. That's the only way I could solve a
well, you
problem.
convinced me that it's not happening.
No, but the reality is generically saying illegal acts and not having any examples doesn't hold.
I saw an example.
Well, that's great. Show me. I'd like to see it. Was this the statistics that we had down at the?
Well,
Is it
you're the one,
statistics or is it money?
you're the one asking for money. I would put it on your burden to convince us that none of that stuff happens. And you do that
I've got
through
my,
independent audits and people looking at your books and saying
yeah.
everything's legit.
My work is done with Dave Nelson
That's the
and
way we
Aaron
did it at
Winkles.
the,
They're our
the way
lawyers.
we always did it at the credit union.
That's great.
Yearly audits to make sure everything was correct.
But your business was money. My business
Your
is.
business is money.
No.
Yes, it
Oh,
is.
that's garbage.
Your budget, your business is money. You're looking for money all the time. You're a business
All
entity.
the time. Who's paying? Who pays for chess and Best Place? We just told you. We just told you. $90,000 a month. I'll show you the bills
Coming out of core,
coming
Yeah.
out of core.
a business entity.
We get 35% of the funds because we do our job. We go out to the people. When I started, they didn't even go to the schools. You laugh, that really irritates me when you laugh at me. It really does. It really does. It's offensive.
I don't see how you don't see core as not a business entity.
It is a business entity, obviously, but we're not doing it for money. We're in it for helping people. You can ask any one of my staff.
Okay.
If I may, I just want to kind of circle back a little bit. So we've heard, we've got Commissioner Rader rejoining us now. So we've heard about 3 different programs now, transitional housing pilot project, some operational support for Best Place, and some funding for TBRA. So I just wanted to kind of circle back to, we've heard a little bit about the projects, what the funding need is. I want to make sure the board has an opportunity to ask whatever questions they have now. As a reminder, we don't need to make any decisions today. I know we have a couple other partners that are coming in as well in the next couple of weeks. So I just kind of wanted to circle back and sum it up and give opportunity for additional questions or for discussion.
If we decide to move forward with Frank's requests, are there funds available to do this?
We could look at the consolidated, we've been talking about the consolidated homeless grant. So we could look into what we make sure we have the funding available, which I think we do
Okay.
in that grant, so. We could also circle back. I know there's a lot of information. If there's more follow-up questions too, then I'm happy to facilitate helping to get some answers for that, so. Okay.
I think, do we have another, did we get a third packet for Mr. Rader?
I just have this
You got
one.
it? Yeah, I
Is that the
know,
one you
that's
have?
what, she's got another. bundle of information for you to look at.
The only thing I have to say without going through all of this, and this isn't just exclusive to you, Frank, but we talked about this in our commissioners meeting, is that I feel like one of the things we need to do is just we need to have a metrics or a system of checks and balances with the money that we hand out.
Amen.
All the way around.
Yeah.
And so, you're open to having whatever system we come up with?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, Gina could testify to this, because for how many years did you help us get the youth program started? Because I told Weber and all those guys, I said, unless if it's a single mom and they got 3 or 4 kids going crazy, mom's going to continue to use and be off the hook. So we need to help the kids. And so we had reports. Nora, wherever Nora's at, she would write reports every quarter.
Mhm.
Remember? And we give the count. You could see all those reports. Actually, you have them. And absolutely, doesn't bother me at all. But I do want you guys to understand, when you're building something, people find it hard to come into a shelter as adults because it's humbling, embarrassing. I don't want people to see me. Think of a teenage kid not wanting to be seen at a shelter or by that place. And some of them, plus, they've been raped before, and we're in court cases right now trying to protect these people, these kids. And so absolutely, I'd love that. Nothing to hide. I don't know why I get such a hard time every time I come here. It's weird. It is weird. We're trying to do a good thing too. But I do expect accountability, Rick. I ask Bill, ask anybody, I do expect it. And it doesn't bother me, because I'm not gonna lie.
I would just like to be able to table a decision so I can go back and watch all the presented information that was presented.
Yeah.
Before I.
I don't think we're looking for a decision anyway, right at the moment.
No.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep, that sounds great. I'll plan to circle back with the board in a couple weeks. Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much. Sorry for the conflictive discussion, but I know your job is to filter and vet and, but we are in it for the right reason. We're not housing first. Clean and sober is our approach. And that's what we do. So, okay.
You do
Thanks.
good work. You do good work. Thank you.
Thanks. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else for the day? Good. Have a good holiday. We'll be back on Monday, I guess. Okay, we will adjourn.